Hello and welcome to the Museum of Democracy. We are here at the exhibition space at the new Association for Visual Arts in Berlin, nGbK. And I have the pleasure to talk with Carolina Saquel, who's an artist from Chile based in Paris. Now she's traveling through Europe and actually in Venice. How are you, Carolina?
Hi, Theo. I'm good, thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much for accepting this invitation to show your project Distancia, which is supposed to be a series on a research trip led by a group of activists, artists, scientists in extreme southern Chile in order to discover something they are not pretty sure about. They are traveling along a highway which is being built. Maybe you can tell us a little bit more about the main idea of this Distancia series, which is in its second block now.
Yeah. Well, Distancia is a web series that we are going to see now in a screening format. So we're going to see the whole episodes aligned one together in a reel. So there are 7 episodes, and it's around 35 minutes. But it's a web series, so it's that's the format. It's intended to be watched in the internet through the website. We have Distancia has 2 seasons now, so that's for the technical part. And Distancia was born from a collaboration related to a larger project called Ensayos, that is based in Tierra del Fuego. Ensayos means in Spanish rehearse, to practice, or to essays, in fact. And Distancia is born in the context of one of those inquiries or practices that is related to human geography, that we call it. So Ensayos is a big platform and has several inquiries or researches that has a theme. And Distancia was born in one of those, and the number 3 that was called a human geography. And it was born in the idea of took shape in very long time. I mean, it took a while to define how to give a shape to these different forces of nature in a landscape that is Tierra del Fuego, in which stories of appropriation of property, of course, stories of extermination, and the wildness of the landscape and the strongness of the landscape could align in a storytelling that it's pretty much based like in the idea of a web series. So to construct episodes, so to create a plot through different space-time. So each episode is one specific space-time. So to create a very kind of free way of understanding that land. And this is a collaboration that is Camila Marambio is a curator who is the founder of Ensayos, and we co-directed the web series with, and Ariel Bustamante is the sound designer, and was a fundamental work that he did with the sound, because the wind is one of the main characters of this.
So it's like a research trip around this Patagonian area, very close to the Antarctic. So it's the extreme south of the southern cone. So can you please tell us a little bit, like, this region was originally colonized by the Chilean state, and then there were like progressive or continuous waves of migration from Europe to that region that led to a massive genocide of indigenous peoples. Like, is that the right historical constellation to understand this multiple layers of the story we are going to watch about?
Well, the historical constellation is quite complex as to, I mean, we never intended to create a sort of chronology or fidelity or truthful representation of what happened. in that land, in the land of Tierra del Fuego. Tierra del Fuego is a complex space, an archipelago, so surrounded by water, and it was originally inhabited by indigenous people, different ethnias, right?
Like Yagan, Ona,
Yaganes,
Selknam.
Onas, exactly, and most of them, they're like didn't have this idea of private property, for instance, that
No,
didn't exist
exactly.
in their conception of life, and they were like nomads. Most of them were like chasseurs, or they hunt, and there were fishers. So I'm not going to go into the detail of each of the ethnias, but basically what we wanted also to rise was the idea of a land that was crossed by a layer that was those of who had inhabited originally there, and then there was like colonization, who changed totally the landscape, in not only because private property arrived, and so the territory was moving and changing and started to become fragments of land that were, with fences, but also with the animals that were arriving, like sheep, for instance, that were not originally from Tierra del Fuego, and creating a different economy. Mm-hmm. And that economic system that was at that time changing by a kind of momentum given by the state of Chile, with the colonies coming from people coming from
Britain.
The Yugoslavia was later, but was from Britain, people coming from Europe, New Zealand even. The complexity of what was going, I mean, the started a total different scenario for those who were living originally there, and in that context, so what we created was the story of a couple that went there to. That's the center of the story, of the plot of the first season, is that a couple who started to create their own place there, because they bought a piece of land and was exactly the representation of the conflict that the state could have with those that don't have any interest in make economical profit. So this couple they bought this piece of land, that is a huge piece of land, and they wanted just to have it for their creating another an ideal of community, and they are working on that until now. But there are several trials with the state, because the state tried to expropriate these pieces of land based on different very confusing ways of measuring property. And this is a classic, we could say, in the story of land and appropriation and the arrival of the state, which starts to understand the economical purposes of some strategical pieces of land, like, for instance, this one.
Okay, so I would say we should take a look at this production that approaches Tierra del Fuego, this extreme southern region in Chile, as a palimpsest, or a region of multiple crossings. Thank you, Carolina, and let's take a look at the film now.
Thank you.
See you.
efectivamente se va destruyendo y entra un azúcar pegajoso que es un beta-amiloide, que es tremendamente neurotóxico, se empieza a acumular y va destruyendo más hasta que llega un punto en que está destruido ya realmente, pero igual se puede, no ad integrum, pero igual puede haber una nueva recuperación a través de las células, las neuronas se cooperan entre sí.
Es un triángulo, ¿no? Entonces, este es el mar, ¿ya? Y este es el río Azopardo. Y este es el río Mascarelo. Y este cerro. Y este es lo de atrás, Turba. Entonces, el Mo hizo el camino, el camino viene desde acá, y llega al mar. Entonces, el Mo no se expropió desde acá hasta acá, ¿no? Desde el kilómetro 8.6, algo así, a 12.4. Ya, son como 4 kilómetros de camino de expropiación. Entonces, y la pista de aterrizaje está acá. Acá.
El
Entonces,
empréstito está al lado.
acá.
Calmar ahí mismo.
Justifican estas fotografías que ellos sacaban.
¿El título o las fotos? Y la fotografía como parte de la experiencia colonial de ocupación del paisaje, digamos. Muy tempranamente hay turismo étnico acá. O sea, barcos que pasan y que compran arcos, por ejemplo. Hay registro de eso desde la década de 1850, desde cuando Punta Arenas era una colonia penal, ¿no? Tomar objetos indígenas y vendérselo a los viajeros está durante todo el periodo. Entonces, los arcos capturados en las matanzas luego pasan al mercado, digamos, del turismo étnico, ¿no? Muy temprano. Entonces, la foto es parte de ese mismo registro, ¿sí?
llegamos de Valparaíso con Julio, después de haber estado 10 años estudiando en las universidades y trabajando en la resistencia por la dictadura en Chile y el trabajo por los derechos humanos, nos vinimos directamente del activismo político a Tierra del Fuego, a Cerro Sombrero, donde a Julio le dieron un trabajo como médico del pueblito donde él había vivido cuando pequeño con su papá, con su familia, y su padre era trabajador de la ANAP. Llegamos con un niño de 1 año a una casa que nos dieron, y fue muy simbólico porque yo ni siquiera sabía cocinar, porque como toda la vida me había dedicado a ser solo activista y tenía un hijo que había que atender de 1 año. Entonces, de ahí empezó la vida, la real vida. Y Tierra del Fuego era un espacio plano, un espacio de los Selknam, y donde llevábamos a este niño pequeño de 1 año a tirar, y que se entretenía tirando piedrecitas en un arroyo. Y esos eran como los momentos libres que teníamos. También lo más importante era la vivencia directa con el territorio y la experimentación del viento. Con respecto al tema de la memoria, bueno, todo acá, bueno, especialmente los que han estudiado mucho la academia saben que la memoria es una prima hermana de la historia. O sea, está ahí siempre ha habido una polémica, cuál es primera, cuál es segunda, cómo se relacionan, cuál es la separación.
A la isla Dawson se daría a los reverendos padres 1 libra esterlina por una sola vez. De usted atento y seguro servidor, G. Stalle, secretario de la Sociedad Explotadora de Tierra del Fuego. En vista de este acuerdo, en el mes de septiembre pasado, el mayordomo de la sociedad, don Alejandro Cameron, recogió 12 o 13 indios y en una goleta los transportó a la isla Dawson. Antes del acuerdo al que hago referencia, continuamente el mismo mayordomo tomaba cualquier indio que encontrara y lo remitía a la isla Dawson sin pagar por esto remuneración alguna. En el mes de julio último, el mismo mayordomo Cameron recogió 165 indios de los alrededores de la hacienda y los llevó a esta, en donde los albergó en un galpón, en este galpón. Han pasado 100 años, digamos. No hay nadie acá, digamos. Hay menos gente que la que había hace 150 años, definitivamente, en esta parte, ¿no? Salvo un porvenir. Acá había gente. No había multitudes, por cierto, pero había gente que vivía, que habitaba este espacio. Habían animales, otros animales, habían guanacos. Hoy día hay pura oveja. Estamos en la primera casa que se levantó comercialmente en Patagonia. Si miramos por esa ventana, la tarea de instalación de esta estancia consistió básicamente en desembarcar ovejas aquí en esta bahía que no tiene ninguna protección del viento y que era territorio Selknam hasta la llegada de estas compañías. que al final de los últimos años del siglo XIX y principios del siglo XX hay mucho enfrentamiento entre Selknam también. Y eso fortalece la capacidad de la estancia, digamos, de administrar el espacio. Finalmente lo que sucede es que este espacio es despoblado, los nuevos pobladores son muy pocos, la industria ganadera no necesita gente, digamos, necesita un par de ovejeros, unos cuantos perros, y se comienza a producir un desplazamiento de los Selknam del norte hacia el sur, hacia la zona del lago Fañano y hasta, digamos, Caleta María. Digamos. Eso genera nuevos conflictos entre los Selknam, digamos, estos que vienen arrancando del norte, los sobrevivientes del norte que terminan en los bosques del sur, que es un paisaje completamente distinto, digamos. Completamente distinto.
Yo siempre me acuerdo de Don Cata, que es el que vivió acá, que murió de 90 años. Y lo que más me impresionaba ver eran las manos. Unas tremendas manos, manotas. Y bueno, porque cortaba mucha leña, mucha fuerza, y era así un chiquitito, robusto. Caminaba, la mano enorme. No, ahora te gané yo porque tú empezaste.
Yo empecé.
Sí.
No, tú empezaste.
No, tú empezaste.
No, tú empezaste.
No, tú empezaste. Te gané por uno.
No.
Pero además, hay toda una estrategia y un objetivo de total desconsideración, porque Julio vive al frente de bienes nacionales, toda la vida ha vivido al frente, tiene su consulta, es conocido como un médico que vive ahí en la Avenida España. Y bienes nacionales, el jefe que se instauró el año 2010 en esa época, nunca le pidió conversar, nunca dialogar, a ver cuál es el problema, qué han hecho ustedes, qué piensan. No, nada, sino que es llegar con ideas preestablecidas e instalar esa idea, cueste lo que cueste, y pasar a llevar entonces a cualquier persona. En este caso entonces fuimos nosotros como personas, pero también fue el terreno en que pasaron a llevar de hacer un empréstito en un terreno que está demasiado cerca de la costa, en un área que ellos mismos habían determinado que era de alta sensibilidad y belleza paisajística. Pero este plan no se suscribía solamente a quitarnos el terreno de la pista de aterrizaje, sino también el Estado iba a ofrecer otros lotes para hacer turismo, porque la idea de ello, el contexto en que se generó este plan de parte de bienes nacionales, era que en estos lugares tienen que llegar empresarios. Entonces, es la pista de aterrizaje más otros lotes para que la gente acá haga negocio, porque eso es lo que tiene significado para el país. No gente como nosotros, que según ellos teníamos abandonado esto.
Cierto, porque la gente se expande, pero sí, eso bueno. Perdón. Matías. ¿Es más falta? ¿Ahí? ¿Faltas tú?
¿Falta? Faltas tú. Un poquito corto. ¿Te molestas?
Siguiendo sus pasos. Para explicarlo a alguien, está como dedicado a mi papá. Es un cuento corto de 200 palabras que iba a mandar a un congreso de médicos y escritores, pero finalmente no fui al congreso. No lo llevé. Esto fue ahora hace 2 meses. Cuando cruzamos la laguna escarchada, seguí sus pasos. Y aunque estos recuerdos pertenezcan a una niñez mía muy temprana, tenía conciencia que esa cubierta sólida de hielo no era segura. Lo que tenía asegurado eran mis manos y pies entumecidos, que soportaba gustosamente en un juego donde sabía que la sangre volvería a circular por mi piel azulada, esperando que cientos de agujas se claven sin tregua, ocasionando dolor hasta un clímax, para luego recuperar la tranquila y agradable sensibilidad. Esto último ocurría ya dentro de la casulla del puestero Paredes, arrojada en medio de la pampa jueguina, la soledad, las ovejas, el invierno, el truco y el vino. En el rinconcito más oscuro de la cocina, estirado sobre la leñera, casi abrazando a la Dover, escuchando sus voces en la batalla de naipes que arrojaban sobre la mesa, me quedé dormido. A veces creo despertar, cuando estoy más al sur, en la misma Tierra del Fuego. Vuelvo a dormir. A veces creo que no es un sueño, para despertar de una vez por todas, cruzar la laguna y regresar, siguiendo sus pasos, para descansar en mi cama, como corresponde. ¿Lo entendieron?
Bueno, este fue el primer bloque de la serie Distancia, realizada, conceptualizada y creada por Carolina Saquel y Camila Marambio. Y bueno, todavía puede ser vista una segunda temporada de esta serie, ¿cierto, Carolina?
Sí, la
We're doing
segunda
it in Spanish, sorry.
yeah, that's true. We're talking in Spanish.
Yeah, so there is
yeah,
like we just watched the first
season.
block of the first season for Distancia, this web series created and realized by you and Camila Marambio in the year of 2018, if I'm not wrong.
Yeah, that's correct. Well, we have made a second season that was launched last year in 2020 during the pandemics in a residency in New Museum, New York. So we had we had online the second season, and it was hosted in the platform of New Museum, and now it's season 1 and season 2 are both on the website of Distancia.
Okay, and can you tell us a little bit more about what can we see in the second season of the Distancia series?
Well, second season it's also wrapped in 7 episodes. We follow the same strategy of fragmentary storytelling, and but we could say it's radically, I could say it's different in the sense that it becomes more intimate, I think, related to the making. I mean, the group that is involved. We display more on a certain idea of identity that it's present in the first season, but in the second season it's more developed, we could say, always mirroring the question that are already set in the first season. So related to the landscape, related to a past that has been trying to be erased through the different techniques of the state, or also this couple that is not really a couple, the doctor and the teacher, that are the main characters, we could say human characters, are there. We could say there is if this first season was a lot centering the non-human agency of wind and the main road that arrives to this Seno del Almirantazgo, so this area of this bay, right, where the road ends. The second season is pretty much centered on human, I could say.
So we have on the one side this couple which is not supposed to be a couple. Can you please deepen a little bit on that? Because are these characters, this group of people traveling along Tierra del Fuego, kind of playing themselves as figures, or who's researching about this story?
Well, this is part of the making of the series. We have developed a methodology of practicing, of practice. You know, I went several times to Tierra del Fuego and made several shootings there, and there was one final moment of shooting where was a kind of, in the traditional terms of shooting, like a team with cameras, with sound recording in a sort of proper way. Before we went to Tierra del Fuego, and were images. I was shooting also images without sort of script. So in the real shooting setup, there were some of the situations that we have experienced during the other trips that were recreated so it was a combination of things we have lived and things we wanted to reconstruct in a more proper way, in the sense of cinematographical terms. And in the team, the real like shooting situation, there were people that were invited to participate in the trip. Like for instance, was Cecilia Vicuña, a Chilean artist that maybe most of the people could know. There was this historian called Alberto Arambur that appears also. There was also
he's the one explaining about the movement of indigenous peoples from one place to the other, from
exactly,
the side of British companies settling there.
Yeah, there was also the anthropologist Michael Tausig that was invited, and everyone was participating as part of a team. I mean, we're not really, we were creating sort of autobiographical, I could say. It's not well said, but we're not playing somebody else. We're playing ourselves.
Yeah. And why does the wind play so an important role in the whole filming? Because we see it every once in a while. There is this camera placed on the bottom of some truck running very fast along these highways that are made of stones and rests or debris. So why should be the wind like suddenly the main character of this story?
Because I mean, the wind, it's part of it's a strong force of nature in Tierra del Fuego. I mean, it's a force so powerful that you could not stay outside without an effect. I mean, even going inside the house, you can feel the wind. Wind is not only a force, it's also sound. And we wanted to create a sort of homogeneous or non-hierarchical role playing. Let's say like the main characters are the wind, are the couple, are everybody in the same equal status, because they're always all influencing the story. The indigenous people that live there were absolutely crossed by the wind. The wind were like putting them close when they were like navigating. They could be left close to the shore or far to the shore. I mean, there was enormous effects on the real life.
That's an interesting element in the story, I could say, because in a region where so many like layers of suffering in historical terms have been placed all the one over the other and a long time, you could also have the feeling that like nature is so strong that there are like very little ways to register like cultural memory in such a region, isn't it? Like,
yeah, I mean, what do you mean? I mean, yeah, to record or to register cultural memory. What would you could say about that? I mean, cultural memory. It's also a complicated term. So it is always this contrast between culture and nature, and at a certain point, we wanted to create that abolition of hierarchies, right, in the project. And the cameras are not only the cameras that are, we film with the camera that's inside. The camera was part of a relationship. The camera was also part of an organic or protagonist also, in the sense of being part of something else that was displaced from the human
Yeah.
point of view, even though that is complicated also to affirm,
Yes.
because we could not say there is no human agency in the way that I put the camera in some place, but it was not all the time controlled by a hand.
So there is always this sensation of estrangement towards reality, as if it was some kind of exterior agent registering the experience of research in a region very far away from civilization and from contact, but nevertheless like developing its own plot or story through the rhythms of nature.
Yeah, we could say that. So that's why also there are many situations that are, I mean, how could say that's just some different. It's not really a documentary. It's not really. I mean, I could say it's more like a fiction, because the construction is a setup inside. It's a fiction. I mean, there are, of course, and this is maybe a discussion that is going to be going outside of the frames of the conversation, because it's a very question of documentary or fiction, or these opposing terms that it's very, we could discuss about that. I mean, it's not so clear that one thing is one thing and then the other one thing has to be, we can define things in that binary way, right? But there is a story that there were some spontaneous situations we recorded, non-scripted. Most of it was non-scripted, except for some of the situations where we have all experienced already. And we wanted to record in a better way. So we could say, yes, that was scripted. In trying to find a way of telling the story.
Yeah. I don't know if there are more questions from the public now. No? Okay, so I think we would be done by today. If there are no more questions from anyone around. Or would you like to comment something?
Yeah, I would would like to show you the web page of this Distancia site, because as I pointed out at the beginning, the format of showing the series now was in a real, one episode was close to the other, so in a kind of screening situation. And I would like you to show you the website, so you could have a view. So I will share my screen. I'm sorry, this is.
Yeah.
Do you see that?
I think so. Yes. Yes.
So this is the website, Distancia, and then here is the season 1 with the episodes. So you go there and you can navigate through location, history, memory, specter, strategy, nearest, that is a tree, and future. This is the first season, right? And then where's the back? Going back to, and then we can go to the second season. So, that is slightly different, but in terms of the, so here are also 7 episodes. That's for one: commoning, air, indomitable, delimit, confession, just, and drift. So we have basically the same structure of 7 episodes, and different durations. That was part of the experimentation with the formats and the lengths of the episode. That's why also a web series was a interesting format for experimenting the narration and the story. And it's also, we have a YouTube channel. So I invite you to watch the second season that's already online.
Why did you decide to work in chapters of this length of about 7 minutes in such a short way?
It was each episode was not this say it was not a decision about we're going to work in 7 episodes or 7 minutes or length, defined length. It was more what the material was giving. So there was not a kind of an idea that was previous to the work. It was much more how the image and the sound and the story was coherent in certain. We decided, okay, this is okay like this. It's not necessary more. We are not dealing with the formats of a television or broadcast that are very standardized and have a kind of length at 42 minutes or 30 minutes or this kind of measures. So that's why also it's interesting, the website format, because you can have small fragments and really 3 minutes and 2 minutes or 7 or 10. And this kind of different lengths creates also in the whole series different sense of the timing, and we wanted to have that as an experience for the viewer.
Yeah, thank you so much, Carolina. And I think if there are no questions from the public or from my colleagues, no? Okay. Then I would thank you very much for having the time to get in touch with us, with the Museum of Democracy in Berlin, hosted at the space of nGbK. We are next to our kiosk, inside the kiosk square, and this was a transmission of Distancia, an online TV series from Museo de la Democracia in Berlin. Thank you.
Thank you, Theo. Thank you, and thank you, Museo de la Democracia and nGbK of Berlin. Thanks a lot.
Yeah, have a nice evening, and thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.